Oh, they're giving it to you out there?
Yeah.
Which one you getting?
Pfizer.
Oh, okay.
The Pfizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical, so.
You still want to wait?
I'm gonna wait a little bit.
Try to get it, Walter.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait. You know, after Hank Aaron died, 2 days later after he took it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. People, I don't want to. Yeah. What made you decide to do it, Walter?
Well, my wife did it, and I went with her, and she did it a couple of days ago, and you know, she seemed to be fine. No pain in the arm, nothing afterwards. So,
yeah,
I said, hey, I might as well go ahead. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I could have really gotten it before her, but then I was reluctant, like you guys. So I ain't in no hurry. I was waiting.
Yeah.
But after she got it, I said, hey, what the hell? I'm gonna get it today. Get it over with.
Did anybody around you? Did they catch the symptoms?
Yes, I had a couple of friends that caught it, and they've been dealing with it. You know, it went through the pains, and some of them lost the appetite. You know, and the cough.
Yeah.
You know, so it depends on your age and how strong your immune system is, really.
Yeah. That's the thing. You know, a lot of people are. You know, and Tyler Perry just had a thing on last night that I watched about you know, all he got a couple of doctors that kind of give you the truth about it. And he asked them a bunch of questions, and then he received his shot right there as he was doing the show. But you know, I'm gonna wait and see if Tyler start growing ears or something first. I'm gonna have to see some more results. It just came out too fast for me, and the virus mutating right now. Yeah, he always put Marilla Scott on his thing, his wife.
Oh, you see Scotty?
Yeah, he's getting ready to come on now, but I see Marilla Scott. They never change his name.
Who running the house over there?
Yeah, you can tell the name.
We see what's happening, don't we?
Yeah. I say he changed it. I guess he might have heard me. He changed it.
Oh yeah, he did. He did change it. God, don't worry about it. We know.
We know.
Hey.
What's up?
What about you?
What's up, man?
What's up, brother?
I wish I could tell you what happened. I just don't. I don't know.
None of us knew. It was hard for me too.
Yeah.
Man. They said they see who running the house over there. You had your wife's name on your video.
Oh yeah. There's no question. Hey, I plead guilty. All I'm doing is sitting.
You're trying to control her.
Absolutely. So we got everybody, I guess, huh?
Yeah, everybody here. So we can go ahead and start, man. I'll go ahead and just do a quick introduction real quick because I'm recording it. So this is the Sunday Cruise with Uncle Frank. It's famousHipHopRadio.com. And I got the fabulous Whispers with me on the show today. How you doing, fellas?
We're doing great, man. How you doing?
Hey, thank you for having us, my brother.
Man, thank you. It's more than a pleasure for me, man. I can't tell you. I was so nervous to talk to y'all. I don't know why I'm not usually this nervous, but you know. So what's going on, man? You know, the history that you guys, I wanted to start off because I'm from Watts, California myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
we didn't know that.
Yeah. So my parents.
What high school? You went to Jordan?
No, I actually went to Lusinger and Hawthorne, but my parents went. My father went to Jordan, and my uncles went to Jordan.
Yeah.
And they were a little bit behind you guys because you guys came out in what year?
Oh, we came out in the 60s. Lusinger, when we were in Lusinger was all white, believe it or not.
I know. When I got there, we integrated it.
Yeah, changed the color.
Yeah, but you guys went to Jordan High School. You guys graduated 64, 65?
64.
64. Yeah, right. my father and them went there, and they graduated in '70. They were the Soul Sonics.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Out of Watt. Then they
yeah.
later became Black Ice.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where Patrice Rushen went to.
Locke. She went to Locke.
Locke. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
well,
mom.
see, your mom went to Locke?
Yeah, she went to Locke with her.
Well, see, there was no Locke when we were at Jordan. Locke wasn't even a high school. It later became, you know.
Yeah.
They were a few years behind us. Yeah.
Yeah. Jordan was pretty much the only school in Watts.
That's exactly
right. It was the
What
only
was-
school. Yeah.
What was it like back then? Because you guys kind of came right when the riots came and stuff like that. So if you guys were trying to get in the entertainment business, what was the atmosphere like?
Oh, it was pretty distinct, really, around from 62 to, I went to Vietnam in 1965. And I watched the Watts riots from Vietnam. You know, the Watts was in that. I got drafted in April of '65, so I was in Vietnam watching the Watts riots being integrated with guys from West Virginia and Kentucky. And we had our own Watts riots in Vietnam. This I tell people, but they don't believe it. But we were supposed to be over there fighting the Viet Cong. And it's just like today, man. I mean, we had our differences. And once you get a guy from Watts and Detroit and Chicago, mix him in with somebody from Kentucky and West Virginia, man, that was volatile. I mean, you know, because we just all had different. The guys from Kentucky and West Virginia, they really thought Black people were kind of almost animals. And
Right.
They didn't mean it as no insult. That's the way they were brought up in West Virginia to believe that.
Right.
You know, so we are intermingled with a bunch of guys that thought like that, and we were supposed to be there fighting another enemy. And if you remember later on, Muhammad Ali said, you know, these people ain't done nothing to me. The only people I had to watch out getting over here was people that look like you, talking about the people from Kentucky and West Virginia.
Right.
So it was a hell of an atmosphere. Scotty was back here trying to get a record deal in the 60s. But that's what I was doing.
So when you guys were trying to get the deal, what kind of hurdles did you guys have to go through? A lot of labels, or did you guys have a manager that was pushing you guys? How did that whole process come about?
No, you know, we were just playing the club circuit and just hanging around like most groups. Fortunately for us, one of the guys in the group, Gordy Harmon, had been with another group called the Superbs. And they actually had a record deal. And he left that group and joined us and took us to the record company that they were once with, which was called Dore Records.
Okay.
And that's pretty much how we actually got there. We went and auditioned for a guy by the name of Lou Bedell. And he liked what he heard. As a matter of fact, he's the one that really named the group, because he was saying, he told us that day that we auditioned for him. He said, man, you guys got this real soft, whispered like sound. Why don't we just call you the Whispers? So we said, hey, if you give us the deal, you can call us whatever you like.
Right. So there it began. And what label was that?
Dore.
Dore Records.
Dore Records. And how long you guys worked with them before you went to Solar?
Oh, wow. We were with Dore for, I want to say maybe a couple of years. But before we got to Solar, we went through a whole bunch, you know, Soul Clock, RCA. I mean, we went through a lot. Solar became way later.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we happened to be with producers who had record deals with record companies. And that's really how low on the totem pole we were. This guy by the name of Ron Carson, he was a producer and he had deals with several small record companies. And after we left Dore, we hooked up with him and he signed, his company was called Soul Clock. So that's who we were actually signed to. We didn't really get out of that malaise until actually maybe 6-7 years later, which is when Solar came into play.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. And how many records did you have in that time span? How many records had you put out in that time span?
You know,
the records came through. We had Soul Clock, Never Again. We had quite a few records, a little small, but they were released on a regional basis. They
Yeah.
were never released on a national basis.
Right.
You know, records that nobody really ever heard of. You know, we finally made some noise with what is it? Seems Like I Gotta Do Wrong.
Yeah. Seems
Seems
like,
like
yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of like your first big national hit, you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah, the
And
ones before that
who wrote,
had names
who wrote that
that
record?
Seems Like I Gotta Do Wrong.
Yeah.
The guy that wrote that song, his name was D. Irwin. And he also, we had another hit with him called Your Love Is So Doggone Good. But it was D. Irwin, I do remember. And he wrote that song. And like you said, if you want to call it a hit, that would be probably the first real hit where people kind of really knew of us. Seems Like I Gotta Do Wrong.
Right.
Yeah, but what it set off, man, was really a pattern of the first hit that you get. That's kind of what you're known for. And Seems Like I Gotta Do Wrong made us be known for message music. Because if you remember, by the time, before the Watts riots took place, man, the racism was still there, even though it finally boiled over to where it brought a riot. But when the Whispers came with Seems Like I Gotta Do Wrong, we became known for a group as being aware of what was going on around us and having message music. So I mean, it later went on. We went on to have Olivia Lost and Turned Out, which was a true story, about a young girl being a prostitute on the streets of Seattle. But I'm so glad that
who wrote that one?
Wayne Bell. Olivia Lost and Turned Out was written by. There were a group of brothers out of Seattle, Washington, and they wrote their niece. This is a true story. They were trying to figure out a way to get their niece off the streets. And so they came up and they were songwriters and they wrote Olivia Lost and Turned Out, which was about her.
Right.
And it's a funny thing, when we went to Seattle, man, we tell people this story and they laugh. On Sunday nights is when the pimps would give their prostitutes a night off. If you a pimp, I wouldn't, but I know that that's the night. They work 6 days a week. But on Sunday, the pimps would let them come to the club. And we played the club in Seattle. And the pimps wanted their girls to hear this song called Olivia Lost and Turned Out. And
wow.
Man, and I tell people, it was incredible, man. Sunday nights was almost like Saturday night, because when the pimps let all the girls off, all of Seattle, man, the club was packed with nothing but pimps and their ladies.
Wow.
And we were singing Lost and Turned Out.
It was a theme song.
Yeah, it was a theme song. That's
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I was just listening to that song before we came on. And then, a lot of message songs that you guys had like that. What inspired the song for Donnie and after Donnie Hathaway passed away? I know a lot of people did it. You guys must have obviously felt the same way about him. Did you guys have any input on the writing on that song?
Yeah, no, that was written by the great Carrie Lucas, who was the wife of Dick Griffey, who owned Solar Records. But what really inspired us to write about Donnie Hathaway is that we happened to see him for the first time in a Chicago club that we were going to play after he was closing on a Sunday night. And we had heard of Donnie Hathaway, but we had never seen him or heard him in person. But that particular night, we got there on a Sunday, getting ready to open up on a Thursday, and he was closing. And we got to hear in person the great Donnie Hathaway. And man, I cannot tell you what an impression that made on me and Scotty in particular. I mean, we had never heard a vocalist that strong and that emotional. If you remember, Donnie Hathaway was a little chubby guy, wore a big apple cap, but his voice, which came from under that apple cap, is something that, I mean, you know what I'm talking about. He didn't need a microphone, but he left such an impression on us that when he actually committed to suicide, Dick Griffey recommended that we give out Donnie Hathaway scholarships. And we gave away 6 scholarships in the name of Donnie Hathaway from Solar Records. That's what he meant to us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. I like that. And then you guys, have also been able to carry it on because you obviously with carrying on the message music, that you have, even today, you guys have a new song called How Long, which is also speaking about, you know, the stories and the things that's going on today. Where that inspired you come from? I know I read the bio and understand it, but for the fans, where did that come from? Because you guys have been away for a minute, not having any new music. So where did that come from?
Yeah, that's true. You want to go into it, Scotty? You want me to?
I was gonna let Lavelle, since his
Oh.
buddy wrote it.
Well, you know, it was one of those kind of songs, man, that, I'll tell you, we were getting ready to go into the studio and just do our typical love song, you know, the ones that we normally do, talking to the ladies, telling them how we appreciate them, and, you know, and that's kind of like our thing anyway. But like everybody, because of this pandemic, we were sitting at home watching our TV, and we see, I mean, it was almost like a movie. We see this guy on TV with a knee on his neck, and this police officer with a knee on this guy's neck, and he's begging for his life right there. And it impacted us so. I mean, I know it hit all of us hard, but to see a black man, you know, actually die on TV in front of your eyes was something that just blew me away. So at that time, you know, like I said, we were getting ready to do our own thing, but then I'd say probably about maybe about a week later, Scotty called me and said, "Vel, you got to hear this song." I said, "What song?" He was so doggone excited about it. I said, "Okay, well, send it to me." Well, it was written by a gentleman named David Magic Mendez. He's the bass player with our band, and
Okay.
he had written this song that he had written a song back in 1987 to deal with the Russian missile crisis. But
Oh, wow.
Scotty had heard it because you know, when Magic writes a song, him and Scotty's wife are really close, so he sends the songs to her and lets her listen to them and see what she thinks about them. So she happened to be walking through his kitchen listening to the song. He says, "What is that?" And so he listened to it. He said, "Oh man, this right now is what's going on today. We need to scratch what we're doing and put this out." So when he called me, he was so excited. And I told him straight up, I said, "If you're that excited, if it's talking about Mickey Mouse, I'll do it, because I've never seen you this excited about any song that we've done." So he sent it to me, and once I heard it, I knew it was something that we had to do, because it was dealing with what was going on today, the racism, and you know, back in the day when, you know, when we were, you know, the riots, you know, were the reason, the riots were the same reason that happened, you know, in 2020. There was the same reason why that happened. So when I heard the song, I said, "Yeah, we got to do this." You know, I have no doubt that we need to do this song. But it just showed me that that racism was still alive and well in this, you know, because we've suppressed it. But because of this president that we had at the time, it was almost like he was giving them the rights to treat black people any way they wanted to.
Right.
You know, and you know, you get comfortable in your own skin, get comfortable in your own world, and you figure, okay, racism is gone, and you know, it's not as bad as it used to be, but really, it's still just as bad or worse than it used to be, because of this man allowing these people to come from their dark holes and their circles and their caves and come back out and show what they're really about. So this song meant so much to us to do. The only problem was is that while we were in the process, you know, when we heard it, we're like, how are we going to do this song and maintain social distancing? Because at that time, COVID was going on. So
Right.
Scott told me, he says, "Man, you got to fly down there. You got to, you know, because I live in Vegas, you got to fly down and record the song." I said, "I'm not flying no place. I ain't going no place, not on no plane." And so I said, "I will drive down and we could do it." But it was amazing to show. We really wanted to do this song so bad that we wind up getting together in Scotty's garage, recording this song. You know, we would go out one at a time in his garage. Magic came down, set up a studio in Scotty's garage. We would go out in there. Scotty would go out, take his mask off, sing his part, put it back on, come back in his house. Walter did the same thing, and then I would go out. But it just shows you the magnitude of Magic's ability, because we're out in this garage and Scotty happens to live close to the airport. We would have to wait till the plane goes over. When the plane goes over and takes off and goes over his house, we'd have to wait, and then we would go and do our part. But we
Finish record.
yeah, I mean, even with us, we wind up wearing our face masks and maintaining social distancing, and we got it done. And we're really, really, really proud of this message. I think it gives people a little bit of hope, and that was the intention upon doing this, and also to make them aware that it's still alive, racism is still alive and still breathing, and we've actually gone back to the 60s. And I would be afraid if this man would have gotten another 4 years, we'd have probably been start putting us in concentration camps. So
yeah, I did a documentary about 10 years ago about mostly about the projects and Watts and the different things. But what I started finding was, and I did a little research, like, my mom and dad, of course, and, I was in my mother's belly, but, they were at Watts Stacks and stuff like that. And,
wow.
So it was like the messages that people were giving when I was doing interviews, it sounded so similar to the same comments they were given in Watts Stacks and all those other documentaries from the 60s. It's like the message didn't even change. It's just
you're right.
It didn't. That was 2005, and again, we're still going and having the same message.
And you know what, man? You think about this. My father, because we're much older than you, so my father, who being much older than us, George Floyd was an example of what my father told us about what happened in the Deep South.
Yeah.
Watching George Floyd that day, like Lavelle said, die before your very eyes, man. I mean, if you remember, that young lady had her phone and he didn't want her, to photograph what was happening. But that left this whole country, especially Black people, in such a rage because we couldn't believe what we were watching on television, man. And my dad told us that back when he came up, I'm talking about in the 40s and the 50s, that's what they did to Black people. So I got to see what he was talking about. George Floyd was in real time, real life. Your folks was in Watts. We went to school in Watts. And, it was Black and brown, but the racism was there then. It was in Vietnam when I was way over in Vietnam. It was way over there.
Yeah.
So this song, How Long, asked the question of how long? How long are we going to have to continue to put up with this kind of BS, man, for Black people? Yes, so we just thought it was seems like this song asked the question. And that's why we're so proud of it. Because, man, you got to ask yourself, well, things are slowly getting better. Like Lavelle said, if this man had stayed in office, they would have won. They were trying to get this country to go to a race war. Yeah. And they almost succeeded, man.
They almost succeeded.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. I was happy that they cut off all of his social media and all this stuff. I think that kind of deaded it after that.
But I don't know. It's so funny you say that. I
didn't have any way for him to communicate to him, so it was just like they just cut him off.
Yeah,
which was a good thing, right?
But I don't know if it's dead though. I honestly,
Lord knows where we would have been if they would have did that 4 years ago.
Right. Much earlier.
Yeah.
Well, I tell I kind of believe that racism's, even though he's gone, the what he put in the air, what he put out there right now, I think is still alive and well. I don't think think his leaving office has, when you look at Marjorie Greene, what she's doing. I mean, here's a woman that's a congresswoman that actually talks about so many doggone conspiracies that are just, we would be put in a psych ward if it was one of us,
Right.
and there's this lie is still being brewed throughout that. You know, even though he's gone, he can't get on social media, but his followers are there. His cult is still there. And
Yeah.
I think it's as bad as you know, until they start weaning that house out. I just never knew, and I'm shocked. I just never knew that it was that the vein of racism was running that deep. You know,
Yeah.
even
Definitely.
in Congress and in the Senate and stuff like that. And that's where it begins. And they can keep that stuff, they can stroke that fire for a long time if they want to. So I think we're far from, you know, and I'm glad Biden got elected, but I think we're still far from healing right now. It's going to take a while, you know.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I agree. Let's go back. What were we talking about? So I'm a DJ producer as well on the side, you know, when I'm not doing all whatever. But you guys have been sampled a lot.
Thank God. Yeah. That's great.
What has it really done for you guys' career as far as, I'm sure, give you more visibility and other things like that? But I looked it up on how many songs it was. It was like 131 times.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's great.
600 different.
Thank God for Sound Exchange, buddy.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what though, man? Here's how
How'd you
we
guys
looked at
feel
it.
about it when you first heard your song sampled on somebody else's stuff?
It was a compliment, you know. I mean, I think we've always been what they call kind of backdoor guys that people would revert to. I think our sound, which was really kind of invented by Nicholas Caldwell, who we lost in 2016. But young people and other vocal groups, I think they have copied us for a long time. A lot of them didn't want to say that they copied us, you know?
Yeah.
But it's a testament, man, because like you say, today, I hear our music just like we did in the 80s. I mean, I'm hearing it. I mean, we just finished the Christmas season. And I told my wife, if I hear another Whisper Christmas song, I'm gonna have a wreck. Because, man, I mean, it's such a,
But
a
you
blessing.
guys are particular on Christmas. You gotta have that Whispers Christmas song every year.
I mean, man, it is amazing.
You guys are on the track list.
Yeah.
And you know, my grandkids say this to me. You know, Granddaddy, man, y'all was busy because now, you know, during the Christmas, that's all you hear is whispers. You know.
Yeah.
But we look at it as, man, it's a real testament to the young people that want to, you know, put our music out there. And it just lets us know about what we call staying power, you know, and we're coming with something new that's going to be in the same vein. That's the main thing I tell young people is be who you are. When you hear this new song by the Whispers, you're going to know it's the Whispers. We're not going to try to be John Legend. You know what I'm saying? We got to be us. I love John Legend. I love what he does, but we're the Whispers. And I think that's the reason 50 years later, we've been here 54 years, man. That's why our music 54 years later is still being played. So don't divert from who you are. Be who you are, you know, just be the hell out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's a real testament and we're very proud of it. We don't even begin to pretend like, oh, shucks. No, we're proud of it. No question about it.
One of the bigger samples was the Will Smith song. Did you guys get to meet him or talk to him? Anything?
You mean with Rocksteady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to meet.
Incredible.
I got to. My daughters and one of his sons went to the same elementary school, and I never forget. This is so funny. When I walked up to him, and I was trying to basically tell him how much I liked what he did on our track, and he basically didn't even know who I was. You know, it was amazing. He looked at me. He said, it's like I told him. I said, the original song. That's my group, the Whispers. And he said, "You gotta be kidding!" But I don't think he really believed me. You know, it was just one. You know, but I congratulated him
so casually, like you was coming to beat him up for your life.
No, I mean, I was really trying to compliment him on what he did because what he put to our track, I thought was the bomb, you know, and I wanted to tell him that. But
Yeah.
he looked at me as like I was getting ready to rob him. So I said, well, hey, come on, just leave it alone.
Let's talk about Nicholas Caldwell for a minute, man, and pretty much how much he meant to the group, what his main roles, and kind of speaking on what all you guys kind of roles are in the group. Starting with Nicholas, but then going to Lavelle and you guys, just kind of speaking on in the group, what is you guys' role as far as writing, or do you guys kind of do it together, or what's the process with you guys?
Well, Lavelle is probably going to get into Nick, but it starts with Nicholas Caldwell.
Yeah.
Right.
The creative side, the writing is definitely Nick, but more than that, Lavelle can tell you later about what it was like working with Nick. But Nick created the image, the sound, and the style that the Whispers are made of. Long time ago when we first started, man, Nick was the one that said, fellas, we want to be known as a group that first and foremost respects the women that brought us here, our mothers, our wives, our sisters. So if you know anything about the Whispers, most of their songs, it's been about a toast to the ladies. And that was Nick's vision of what he really thought that we should be. And the songs that he wrote, the biggest song other than And the Beat and Rock Steady that we ever had is simply called Lady. And Lavelle can kind of elaborate on what it was like to work with Nick, but I just want to make the people understand of whether we lost him in 2016, but we really never lost Nick, because everything that we're doing now is based on what really Nick designed and what his focus was. But of course, his buddy, I mean, the choreography and the way they did, where we did the show, that was him and Lavelle and Marcus. Lavelle can tell you about that.
Yeah, you know, I look at Nicholas, who had three different roles. He was kind of like he was a psychologist. He was actually a choreographer, and he was a songwriter, great songwriter. And I say from the psychology part because he had four other brothers that sometimes could be crazy as a road lizard. And he would wind up using he would use his charm, his psychological ability to pull us together, because, you know, we all have different personalities, and he knew how to work this group. We would call him really our leader in a lot of ways. Scotty and Walter do the lead singing, but he basically kind of knew how to control this group and talk us down from moments that we would have throughout our career. But it was amazing to watch Nicholas work. I mean, his work ethics were unbelievable. When it comes down to doing a song, he'd work on that song for days and days, and lyrics were so important to him. And the same thing with his choreography. Some of the stuff that he would come up with that me and Marcus would have to learn from him, you know, we would look at him like, how the hell did you think of that? I mean, you know, It was on time, off time. His choreography was set in terms of he would listen to parts in the song that we wouldn't, you know, because everybody just kind of listens to the one, but he would hear a drum line, or he would hear a horn line or a string line, and his routine would be built around those things. And I remember when we were on stage one day doing our show, and a famous guy by the name of Eddie Levert came to me as we walked off stage. He said, Lavelle. I said, yeah, what's up, Eddie? He says, I just want to ask you, man, I sit here for the last 3 or 4 nights and watch your show, and I'm looking at the choreography. What are you guys listening to? He says, because for 1 minute you're on the and, then you're on the beat, then you're in between. I said, man, if you have to think about it, it's too late. because if you start thinking about Nicholas' routine, you'll be way behind. So it was actually, I think that our ability to be able to take, just like the twins would, Nick would come up with a song, and he would give it to Scotty and Walter in terms of the melody, and they knew how to interpret exactly what what Nicholas wanted him, the melody to sound like. And the same with me and Marcus. We were the guys that could make his choreography come true. We would be able to, interpret what he wanted and how he wanted to look, because that meant to him probably as much as his songwriting did. The way we stood, what we were doing negative time, how we bow. I mean, the whole thing was choreographed. Was choreographed from the time we walked from behind that curtain until we walked off. And that was Nicholas Caldwell. And, when I think back at it, because sometimes me and my wife will look at some of the routines, and I'm just so proud to be a part of that. And on top of that, I'm wondering how the hell I ever learned all of that stuff. Looking at it now, it's so doggone complicated, but I just feel great that I was able to work with a guy like that, be able to make him, feel that, that I paid homage to his work.
Yeah.
But you asked what our roles were. Everybody had a different role. My role was kind of the business thing, and it really launched us. I tell young people all the time, the Whispers slid in as the door was closing when it comes to publishing, royalties, because we came from an era where nobody got the opportunity to have that luxury. I'm so proud. Today, our young people your age, they own all this stuff. They don't do nothing unless they own it. You know what I'm saying? When we came along in the late 60s or the early 60s, you didn't have the luxury of going to a record company, say, I'm a producer, I want to do my own stuff. We can talk about my catalog. They look at you like you're crazy. You either going to record the way I want you to record, or you're not going to be on the air.
But so you tell me on your own all your masters and all stuff?
We later began to own them, but not in the beginning. That's why I said we got in as the door was closing. We slid just in time to not get the door closed on us. So we now understand the importance of publishing, copyrights, because when we came along, even if you had the knowledge of it, there were people like Ray Charles that got to own his stuff in the 50s. People will never understand how unusual that was. You had people like Little Richard, Chuck Berry. These people, they later got to own their material, but in the beginning, it was owned by the white man and the white record company.
Well, basically, it was stolen. Let's just be honest. When you see, if you look right now, and you're probably too young to even know this, but I'll give you a sign that you can always look for. When you look for a song written by Chuck Berry, and you see written by the last name Berry and Schultz. Now, Schultz is Jewish, isn't it? Right. Good and well don't know, back in those days, Schultz didn't know nothing about rock and roll. What he was doing, he was stealing it. You know, so later on, people like Chuck Berry, make a long story short, racism was in effect, and that's what hurt us probably more than anything. So timing is everything. As we went on down the line, and it got later and later, things start to come your way. But during our time, like Walt said, we were lucky. And even now, I'm amazed. Sometimes I have to pinch myself. 54 years, and we saw all of the thievery and what was going on with Black Acts, and we're still here. I'm just so happy today that younger people your age, they understand that word ownership. We understood it, but we wasn't allowed to really deal with it back when we came up. So
who made you guys aware of it though? Like, was it just the people that came before you, or was it management or somebody that made you aware?
It was one man.
Supposed to be getting.
One man. His name is Dick Griffey. Dick Griffey was a promoter. He promoted concerts, but an extremely intelligent Black man that understood the importance of publishing. He understood how important it was to own your copyrights, even though he was a little older than us, like Ray Charles. Ray Charles understood, he was older than us, but he understood that if you don't own it, you can't really become wealthy from it. You have to own what you put out. And he understood, Dick Griffey made us understand and he was a promoter that promoted our concerts and later became our manager. He was the one that made us understand that if $1 million is going to be made, how much realistically should you think you should get of the $1 million? That's putting it down to the basic ABCs. You know, we ask young people, if $1 million is generated from what you do, how much from a fair standpoint should you receive of that $1 million? Should you get 100,000? Should you get 10,000? Should you get 500,000? In other words, whatever it is, if you have an understanding of what it is that you think you can get, you're going to be treated right. But if you have no understanding, you're going to get what they give you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Dick Griffey taught us.
Well, what he basically told us, though, he shortened it up. He said, man, listen, what I want to teach you guys, you need to know your value. Because we, like a lot of young Black groups, when we were young, excited, ignorant to an extent, we just, let's just be honest. When we first got into it, we was excited because the girls liked us. We wasn't even concerned about, money. We couldn't, at least I wasn't, I'll just be honest. But later on, we were very lucky because as we got older and we ran into certain people like Dick Griffey and Don Cornelius and people who had been successful, they start to educate us. But in the younger days, they took full advantage of racism was already on top of you, but they took it a step further and used it. So we were lucky enough. Think about it. We simply have outlived it. The fact that we still here 54 years later is unbelievable.
Yeah.
To even us.
Yeah. But that's kind of what happened to, like I was speaking on my father's group, Black Ice. They didn't get the, people don't often know also what it takes money-wise, as far as your budget, to make a record and the people that have to be involved. So if you have to take that into account, how much you have to pay everybody that helped you on the record first.
Right. That's right.
And most artists don't know that, but that was kind of their thing, is that they, were just happy, like you said, to be in the entertainment business and didn't look at the paperwork and, ultimately let people take advantage of it. Not say they got taken advantage of, but
they did. Just say
they were in control,
Yeah. They took advantage. They really took advantage of what you did not know. They don't, when you talk about your father, you like today, you know all about marketing. You can't put a record out and not have it marketed.
Right.
Well, because somebody has to pay for that marketing, the merchandising of it, the distribution of it. But see, it's one thing to know about it. What does it feel like to know about it and still can't take advantage of it? That's what happened in the earlier years. You can know all you want. You were not going to be able to participate because the system would not let you unless you were so good. Ray Charles told Atlantic, either you give me my stuff and let me own it, I'm not putting it out. Well, they went with that. And thank God he was strong enough to do that. Now people your age, that's the first thing out of their mouth. If I can't share in this to where it's as much to my advantage as it is yours, I'm not doing it.
Right.
That's it's that simple.
Have you been around some people that have happened to where, they were in the same lane you guys in and fell off? I'm sure there was a lot of artists that who were some people that you guys kind of came up with that kind of didn't.
Well, we can, you know what? I wouldn't even want to, I can name them, but let's put it this way. There was a certain era that came along let's take the Temptations. If the Temptations, and I mean, not to disgrade them in any way, but the Temptations, they've been to the top of the mountain as a vocal group. But now, if you ask the Temptations what they own, they came from an era where ownership was impossible.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Every vocal group, the Shy Lights, the OJs, the Whispers, we all aspired to be like the Temptations. You know what I'm saying? Before that, it was the Mills Brothers. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But none of us got to take advantage of the rewards that music brought.
Right.
You got to, today, that's a foregone conclusion. Ain't no young group doing nothing where they don't partake on a level where they can be rich in their later years.
Yeah.
That didn't happen in our era. It just didn't.
Mm-mm.
Right.
That's the Temptations. That's the Four Tops. I mean, you name most of your stand-up vocal groups of 5 men. They might have had one guy that did the writing that was a producer, but as far as them taking advantage of it to the extent to where they could own something, that was non-existent. It just was.
Because of racism.
Yeah. The Schultzes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You say your
Right.
dad was, let me ask you something. Your dad, was he in a vocal group?
Yeah, he was in the group called Black Ice.
I remember
Oh,
Black
Black
Ice.
Ice. I remember
Black
Black
Ice.
Members,
I
right?
remember Black Ice.
Well, then
Yep.
your dad can tell you what they
Frank
went up against.
Cleveland Jones, Gerald
Yeah,
Bell.
Yep.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that Nicholas and my dad were friends at some point
Yeah.
because he came to our house one time. I was outside. I was maybe 9 or 10, maybe.
Wow.
I'll be darned. No kidding.
We were living in Inglewood,
Yeah.
and he had a Mercury Cougar. Am I lying?
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow. That is amazing, man.
And I remember, and I was
Small
outside,
world, man.
watched him walk in the house. But what I was listening to what Lavelle was saying, and I think what he was doing for my dad was giving him pointers on maybe, choreographing or writing or something, because, all of the dudes in my dad's group, they all wrote and performed as well, different things. But I think that's what Nick was there doing, because I didn't hear what they were talking about, but they went to the garage where they used to rehearse.
Yeah.
And he kind of like, in his face telling them, like, you could tell it was a deep conversation. And that was
Man, that's amazing. That is amazing, man. You got some great history, bro.
Yeah. So I was able to meet the man, the myth, early on. Didn't know what I was at the time, though.
That's truly amazing. That is truly amazing. Yeah.
But I think he was there mentoring them, helping them at whatever capacity he could do that, But that goes back to what kind of man he was and how instrumental he was in the entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a big community, man. The big difference from when your dad came up versus you, there was a camaraderie. It was a club. They kind of stuck together. Now, the competition on stage was fierce as to how well you were rehearsed. I guarantee you, your dad and Nick were talking about choreography, because Nick had a philosophy, man. It was simply this: how well rehearsed you are will determine how many butts you're gonna kick.
Yeah,
that's what Nick believed in. Black Ice. I remember the group. They were well rehearsed. They knew in order to conquer, they had to be well rehearsed, because there was other groups, and that was so great about back in the day. All the groups, man, it was about what you did in the woodshed and when you got on stage that determined if you were going to be here for any amount of time.
Yeah.
And Nick believed in that, man.
Yeah, and our house was the rehearsal house, because we were the only ones that had a garage. So they all sweating, arguing, going back and forth, But it was amazing to watch for me as a kid, because I would just be like in the back or hanging off something, or
kid, right? Get a kid.
Eye and earshot of everything that they're doing, and I saw how much they rehearsed, and you're right, that was the key to them, staying the way they did, because they rehearsed for countless hours every day.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
We didn't know at the time. We watched Lavelle. It took Lavelle, and he can tell you this better than me, but I say it all the time, because I'm even more amazed today, because he's younger than us. And when Nick got through with him, first of all, it took him a year to get to the stage.
Exactly.
Really?
He
Lavelle sung
backstage for
we set up a mic backstage, because he never had a problem with singing. He had that pretty voice. So, but he sung his parts backstage, and for a year, because Nick was rehearsing with him. And when the night that Nick said to Lavelle, man, tonight is it. You going on stage. Lavelle froze.
Like had a heart attack.
It's like damn near had a heart attack. But that just goes to show you how long it took. And once he got it, he got it. But probably that first night was a funny thing to see.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. A little bit about that. that moment?
Well, it's a funny thing. You get comfortable in your skin because I mean I knew every night I'd come and I've been doing it for a year. Just hey, they have that mic set up and confidence in my singing because I was a tenor, in the group. So I did all the first tenor parts, and so that was easy peasy for me. So I just come there every night. Okay, they have my mic set up, and boom, I'd watch them from the side of the stage and sing all the parts and walk on back to the dressing room after the show was over. And had no idea that they had already got together. And I guess they were talking about, do you think he's ready to go on stage? And I know the group, so it might have been a little bit of arguments on who thought I was ready, who didn't think I was ready. But I walked in that room and he said, how you feeling? I said, I'm feeling good, man. Let's do this. He says, well, you're doing it from the stage. You're going on stage tonight. And I kind of had a hint because when I walked in the dressing room, I'm seeing 5 uniforms hanging there. And I'm like, okay, no, this ain't going down. They, they probably just set it up there. But when they told me I was going on stage, there was a like you almost get a heat rush that goes over your body. and after that, fear struck like I couldn't believe it struck. And I remember standing on stage, I knew the routines and all that stuff. But I remember standing on stage, and we call it negative time, where you're not doing anything and your hands are supposed to be held in a certain way. But the one thing I remember, I could not stop my legs from shaking. And I was worried about if the audience could see how nervous I was. My legs were shaking unbelievably. But I don't know how well I got through it because it was like a blur. Because all I'm doing is thinking that I got to do these routines right. I got to. I'm nervous, I'm scared, I got to sing these parts right, I got to do all that. And then, it went by so quickly that once I got off the stage, I was like, whoa, okay, did I do all right? And they came and said, man, you did really, really good, man. You did good for your first time. And Walter came up to me and said, man, you did better than I did the first time, because all I did was stare at the group the whole time while I was on stage for the first time. Hey, I couldn't even sing my part because I was watching them. Well, I didn't have that luxury because I was part of a 3-man routine thing, so I had to do what I had to do. But it was, from that point on, I never looked back. Now, to say I wasn't scared the next night and the next night and the next night, I think it takes time for you to get used to somebody looking back at you, and it's the funniest thing in the world. I think that was more frightening than anything. I'm on stage and they're looking at me, and I got to look like I know what the hell I'm doing, which I had no idea. But I'd been working so much for a year off stage. I think I faked it pretty good until I got confident that I finally knew what I was doing. So, yeah, wow. It was scary times, man.
One more question I wanted to ask. Did you want to say something, Walter?
Yeah, he mentioned me. I came in a little bit before Lavelle, having been in the Army. And of course, I started out with the Whispers, but unlike Lavelle, when I came back to the group, because we were twins, they threw me in front. Me and Scotty were in front. And I ended up looking more like a fool because what I didn't understand, he tells you phrases like negative time or what you do when nothing's happening. I was so bad until Scotty went to my mom and he said, you know what, Mama, he called me Junior. He said, I don't think Junior's going to be able to make it because he don't know what to do. And so my mother told him, he said, well, you better hope he make it, because if he don't make it, you ain't going to be in there. So I said, so they made it their purpose of getting me learning how to be a lead singer. And that's what Lavelle means. When you're standing on stage and everybody's looking at you, you're just human. You're going to get scared as hell. What Lavelle didn't tell you, this is the funny part. Lavelle had been telling Nick, man, I'm ready. What in the world? What are y'all waiting on? I've been backstage. He said, I'm ready. Lavelle got to the point where he was bothered. So, but when it actually happened,
Yeah.
LaBelle said, "Oh no, man, let's do it tomorrow night."
Yeah, that's true. I
Speaking
was
of,
begging to go on stage, but I don't know. I think I was lying to myself.
speaking of the lead singing thing, man, how did you guys develop that where both of you guys are singing in that harmony together like that? Because how long did it take you to develop that?
Well, it evolved as a result of Scotty getting sick. My brother ended up getting a disease called valley fever, where they took one of his ribs,
Oh,
and
okay.
he stayed in the hospital for 1 year. And
never.
before that happened, as I just said to you, we were on stage trying to figure out a way. He'd sing a little bit and I'd sing a little bit. But because Scotty was so experienced, I had been in the war and been away from the group, he just knew what to do as a lead singer, but I didn't. But when he left for that year and I was doing what he did without me, that's when I became a lead singer. I understood what it was like to be a lead singer and share the stage with another lead singer who happened to be my twin brother. But it took some time. I don't know if Scotty, if he hadn't went to the hospital and got valley fever, I think it would have taken me, just like it did with Lavelle, longer to get comfortable. Because I don't know if your dad told you this. I remember Black Ice, man. They were well rehearsed.
Mm-hmm.
And we all go through what we call the initial stages of being afraid. Because you've never been in a situation where you feel like all eyes are on you. That's a scary thought.
Mm-hmm.
Some people adjust to it. And I saw your dad's group, man. They were smooth. They knew what they was doing.
Tight.
But all of us was the same. It took a while to get that comfort zone to where you can face an audience to where you look like you've been doing it all your life. That takes some time to get to that stage.
Yeah. One more question I had was, I wanted to know what the atmosphere was like and how it was working with a young LA and Babyface when they came to Solar as writers and producers.
Wow, that's an interesting story. When we first met L.A. Reid and Kenny Edmonds, which is their true names before they became Babyface in L.A.
Yeah.
Kenny in particular had written a series of songs that he seemed to be more interested in what we were doing musically, as opposed to he was with the group called The Deal. But the group, The Deal, was really, if you can imagine, who their idol truly was Prince. So when you looked at The Deal, you saw 4 princes. I mean, that was, they all wore earrings and makeup, and I never forget, because I was confused for a minute. I later realized that this was all just, makeup, but I didn't know if it was gay or whatever, because this first time I saw a man with makeup,
Yeah.
But Kenny kind of liked the kind of music that we were doing. So he wrote in our vein. And when he showed us these songs and listened, we went to Dick Griffin. We said, man, listen, we done found this guy that's perfect for the Whispers. As a matter of fact, we were thinking about signing him to our production company until Dick heard him. And once Dick heard him, of course, they got signed. But I think, Lavelle, you told a story about how Lavelle said to them one night, man, we need another the beat.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
They said, man, and I think it was either Kenny or LA. They said, well, I'll tell you what, when we come back tomorrow, we'll have one for you. And Lavelle, he cracked up. He said, man, they don't even realize what they're going to have another and the beat. These kind of songs, that song with double platinum, you don't get them every day.
And the beat goes on?
And the beat goes on. Biggest record we ever had.
Yeah.
True enough, the next night when they came back, they had a song called Rock Steady. And we were stunned.
Yes.
Yeah.
We just couldn't believe it. I mean, so that's the kind of writers that they were, and the rest, Rock Steady, In the Mood, they just started coming out the woodworks.
Yeah.
But the funny part is that if you can understand this, The Deal didn't like those kind of songs.
No, they didn't like none of them.
They didn't like none of them.
Mm-mm.
The Deal, no, they did. They were Prince disciples, and they wanted to do kind of an R&B rock, what Prince was doing, you know? But Faith was writing tunes like Rock Steady, In the Mood, Roses Are Red. The deal didn't want to hear them kind of songs.
Right.
So he submitted them to the Whispers.
Yeah.
And for our admit, oh man, it just worked out great for us, you know.
Yeah.
Really did.
It sounded excited, even just thinking about the music and how up-tempo, it seemed exciting, even just the way you guys performed it and recorded it, you know. I could tell it was like a celebration almost.
Oh,
you know?
no,
That's exactly what it was.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
It was so much fun to work in the studio. Studio was probably one of the most fun when, you know, and it started with Leon Silvers, you know, watching him work, you know, he was a genius in his own right, you know, and I think because of what he did, a lot of artists, you know, a lot of writers like the Babyface in LA came along and they got challenged by it, you know, and so we got a chance to watch Leon work and do his thing and become a human drum machine when there was no such thing as a drum machine at that time. And then we get in the studio with you know, with Babyface in LA, and it was actually fun time, you know. It didn't even seem like work, you know. It was a lot of fun. And watching these two young guys, LA and Babyface, work like they did with such a, I mean, when we met Babyface, he had a 4-track studio, a little portable thing, looked like it was about that big. Well, it was a little small thing, but what he could do with that little thing and
was
writing
unbelievable.
songs, unbelievable.
Yeah.
He was a genius already, and we knew it. So we aligned ourselves with him as close as possible.
Yeah, yeah. And that makes sense that you just said that he didn't, you know, his talent superseded any kind of piece of equipment that he had, because I know as a producer, it's not the equipment, it's the person using the equipment.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
Exactly right.
You're right.
Exactly.
That's why you said his talent superseded the equipment.
Yeah. So that's wow. That's a great story, man. So, man, I want to thank you guys, man, for doing this. You guys want to speak on anything else, but we can keep going, or I don't know.
No. I'm glad because I'm getting ready. I remember I told you guys I got to go get this shot
today.
But let me say this to you, man. Thank you for giving us your platform to give us an opportunity to talk about the things that we've talked about today. I hope that some of the things can be informative to younger people, but thank you, man, because you didn't have to do this. We appreciate you giving us your platform to talk about our form of music and blending it with your form as a younger person. So thank you, man. We don't take this for granted. You know what I'm saying?
Not at all.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. I'm very much a fan. So it's very, you know, I'm so excited about this right now, you know, and I appreciate you guys, man. It's been a real pleasure, man, and I appreciate it.
All right, man. Hey, we look forward, man. Maybe we can get to meet in person so we can hang out.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna do some more stuff, and then tomorrow I'm featuring you guys on my Sunday cruise show. So tomorrow we're playing None But Whispers for 4 hours tomorrow night.
Appreciate it. Much
Thank
love.
you.
Appreciate you very much, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where are you out of right now?
Right now I'm in Albuquerque.
Albuquerque.
Oh wow, great.
Yeah, we came to the casino. We did a show there in Albuquerque.
I was there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was trying to get a picture with you guys, but the line was too long.
So we owe you one, man.
We owe you one, partner.
I got a chicken waffles restaurant out here as well. So.
Oh, that's great, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. We look forward to getting with you, my brother.
All right. I thank you guys, man. Appreciate it.
God bless.
All right, bro. Take care.